The G Pro X Superlight is one of the most popular mice to have ever been made. Following the steps of its predecessor, the G Pro Wireless, this mouse copies what that one did well, but in a lighter form factor. Now, I did have this thing for a little over 1 week, so here we go. But before I begin, thanks to Hardware Corpus for sending this review unit. Now, Logitech does not follow the extravagant way with the unboxing of this mouse, but the box lifts slowly and it has some resistance. This slowly builds up the anticipation of what's inside. Inside the box, you get the mouse, some paperwork, the dongle, an extender, a charging cable, some Logitech stickers, and the most important thing, some textured grip stickers. Now, I find these very interesting. Some people can have some complaints about the smooth matte surface of the G Pro X Superlight. For them, Logitech has got you covered. Overall, the unboxing experience of the G Pro X Superlight is quite elegant. I'm giving this a 8 of 10. Now, the G Pro X Superlight does not innovate in terms of its shape. It is the same as its predecessor. The body is slightly tapering towards the front and has a slighted angle towards the back. I mean, when you see it from the top, it just looks like an elongated cylinder. And yes, this mouse is towards the bigger end when it comes to mouse sizes, but it is the perfect size for me. I mean, I had some complaints with the size of the NZXT Lift I recently reviewed, but this thing, well, it's perfect, at least for me. Now, of course, the opinion on sizes will vary from person to person. For some people, it doesn't matter, while for some other. Now, when you see it from the side, the G Pro X Superlight has a pronounced ridge. Now, this should help in grip, but to be honest, I really did not notice the presence of this grip while any kind of normal or gaming users. Now, the G Pro X Superlight has been built for claw and fingertip grip. Even palm grip users get along with it pretty well, but lag grip users like me, I have a bit of a problem with this thing. Now, overall, the shape of the mouse is decent, an 8 of 10. Now let us talk about the surface of this mouse. It has a matte texture and the grip is pretty solid. I got the black variant of this mouse in for review and I can say that, well, this thing does look minimalist. Now, part of this is because of the design language, but the very minimalist look of the Superlight has been imparted by the few buttons on it. The mouse also gets rid of any form of lighting, unlike the G Pro Wireless, so that's added to the aesthetic as well. But despite being a super light mouse featuring several weight reduction formulas, the Superlight does feel very well built. The weight has been very evenly distributed throughout the body of this thing. Now, this mouse weighs 60 grams. Now, if you remove this PTFE cover from the back, the weight reduces to 59 grams. Now, I am super impressed with how this thing feels on hand. Definitely one of the best mice for claw grip gaming. I am giving this an 8.5 of 10. Now, talking about the buttons, I have some good things to say. Logitech uses the high quality Omron 20 million plus rated switches in this mouse. The left and right clicks feel super good. The Superlight also has a couple of thumb buttons and they are pretty tactile as well. But there is a slight flexing with these things. I did not feel the same quality as the left and right clicks while using these buttons. Now, this mouse does not have a DPI button, which has become a staple on every gaming mouse nowadays. However, this does make the mouse look more minimalist, but it also incentivizes people to use the Logitech G Hub software to control the DPI settings of this thing. Also, the scroll wheel on this particular review unit does make a little bit of a rattling sound. Just listen to this. Now, I do not think that this problem is persistent with every Superlight out there. Like, a friend of mine also owns one of these mice and the scroll wheel on it is pretty quiet. Okay, now here's how the buttons sound on this thing. Now, the G Pro X also packs some grip tape. Once applied, these tapes impart a rough feel to the mouse for users who prefer this. I personally am better off without them. I like the super smooth feeling of this mouse that it delivers out of the box. But the addition of grip tape in the box is a super cool addition and I'm all up for it. Now, overall, the clicks feel pretty sharp. The left and right clicks have zero post-travel and pre-travel, and I like them a lot. The thumb buttons do feel a little bit flimsy, but hey, they get the job done pretty well. Now, the scroll button also fared pretty well in my testing, but the scroll wheel, well, my review unit had some problems with it. I cannot just fully guarantee that it works. But still, overall, the buttons are pretty good. I'm giving this an 8.5 of 10. Okay, now coming to the mouse feet, Logitech does innovate a lot with the Superlight. This mouse has 3 feet in total and they are absolutely ginormous. I mean, just look at the size of this very top mouse feet, and now all of these feet are made out of 0 additive PTFE. Now you can take them apart by applying a little bit heat, but do keep in mind that you will need third-party mouse gates because You cannot put them back on once you have opened them. Now this PTFE covering in the back can also be removed to get access to an inner compartment. Now this compartment stores the USB receiver that makes traveling with this thing very convenient. Huge thumbs up for this feature. Now another cool feature is that you can swap the PTFE covering for a plastic one. This reduces the weight by a gram or so, but I did not notice any difference in the glide speeds. Now overall, the skates are as good as they get. I am giving this a 9 of 10. Now since the G Pro X Superlight is a wireless mouse, let's talk about its battery life a bit. Now this mouse packs a massive 240 mAh battery inside, and the battery life on this thing is super. It lasted me about 5 days on a full charge, and each day I was using this thing for like 7 to 8 hours. But still, this metric is not a perfect measure because battery life will vary depending on the DPI and the polling rate you set your mouse for. For instance, my mouse was set at 800 DPI and at 1000 Hz polling rate. Now the G Pro X Superlight can be charged via a cable included in the box. The charging end has a protective plastic piece that slides into the USB housing pretty well. You can use the mouse as it charges too, albeit it will charge at a slower speed if you do so. The mouse takes a little under 2 hours to get to full charge from 0%, and that is pretty impressive. However, the USB port on this mouse is a micro USB port. I do not understand why Logitech still sticks to micro USB these days. I mean, USB-C is more durable and it has been adopted by a larger mass as of 2022. But still, micro USB gets the job done for a gaming mouse pretty well, and the battery life is superb. I am giving this a 9 of 10. Now the Logitech G Pro X Superlight packs the Hero 25K sensor, which is a very high-end sensor by itself. I mean, I could feel the difference coming from the PMW 3389 on the lift I was using to date. Aiming with this mouse also feels perfect because it is just the correct weight for me. I mean, the shape of the mouse also contributes to the overall usability factor though. Okay, now coming to the specs of this mouse. This sensor gets from around 100 DPI all the way up to 25,600 DPI, which is an absolutely enormous number. No one will use it, believe me. Now users can completely customize the DPI via the Logitech G Hub software in steps of 50 DPI each. Also, the mouse supports 4 polling rates. They start from 125 Hz and get doubled as you go up. However, this thing does not come with a programmable LOD function or anything like that. Overall, the Hero 25K sensor is a pretty high-end sensor. I do not have any apparent complaints about it. So I'm giving this a 9 of 10. Okay, now let us check the performance of the sensor, starting with the LOD test. Now the LOD test measures the maximum height up to which the sensor tracks on a given surface. And for the G Pro X Superlight, it did not cross the 1 DVD mark. This is the best result I've ever recorded. And it also means that the G Pro X Superlight has an LOD of 1mm or even less. Impressive AF. Now the jitter test measures the noise of the sensor, or it is a measure of the movements that were registered by the sensor but they never happened in real life. Okay, now here the G Pro X just amazed me with the results. I mean, just look at these paint drawings. For 400 CPI, 800, 1600 and even 3200, there is almost no jitter. Even for 6400, the jitter is almost negligible. But yeah, as you go higher like 10,000 and up, you do get a bit of noise, and at 25,600, well, it is completely out of bounds. But hey, answer me. Who really uses 25,600 DPI? So it's completely fine, right? But believe me, taking the 25,600 DPI reading was an absolute pain in the arse. Oh my god. Okay, now coming to the CPI divergence test, which measures the deviation of the CPI from the target we set in the software. We got some really impressive results. I mean, just look at this graph. In every DPI, we get almost 0.5% deviation, which is completely acceptable. The Hero 25K sensor that this thing packs is a high quality thing. This graph speaks for itself. Now coming to the perfect control speed test, which I warn you is not so perfect in real life because it is limited by the human arm. I mean, the main idea behind this test is that it measures the maximum velocity up to which the mouse can track. There is a limit to how fast our arms can go, and thus this test is really not completely perfect. But still, it produces an interesting graph that can give us some idea of how smooth the tracking on this thing is. Now the graphs I got really did not surprise me much, nor do they bother a whole lot because this is an imperfect test, but still, we got some pretty solid tracking throughout the test. Okay, now the next test is the speed speed related accuracy variance test, which measures the accuracy of the sensor at different velocities. And for this mouse, I did a fast swipe across a 600mm mouse pad and then slowly brought the mouse back to its original position. We see a stable graph in this test. I mean, yes, there are a few deviations here and there, but you will have to consider the human error factor. Okay, now the last test is the polling rate test, and in this test we measure the reporting rate of the sensor when a particular setting has been selected from the software. And the polling rate results are acceptable as well. I mean, there are a few outliers here and there, but overall we get a pretty solid graph in all the 4 polling rates this sensor is capable of. Performance was really good. I am giving this an 8.5 of 10. Okay, now this mouse packs the Logitech G Hub software, which is a polished bit of software. It is not very CPU intensive, it packs a minimalist UI. I mean, it is a perfect software for controlling mouse, keyboards and any other Logitech products you have. And the DPI customization options on this software are pretty well done as well. Users can use this slider to select any DPI they want, all the way from 100 to 25,600, yeah, whatever that marketing number is. Now, since the G Pro X Superlight does not have a DPI switch on board, the software allows you to remap any button to DPI switch from within itself. I mean, this is kind of dumb because you will lose the usability of that button when you try to use the mouse in gaming and any other kind of purposes. The G Hub software also packs a lot of customization options. You can add macros from this thing, and you can also customize the mouse buttons to any key on the keyboard, which is pretty dope, to be honest. Overall, I like the G Hub software. It is a pretty clean experience. I'm giving this an 8.5 of 10. And the G Pro X Superlight now costs $160 or almost 15,000 rupees in the Indian market. That is a pretty steep price for a mouse, to be honest. Now obviously this is a wireless premium gaming option in the market. Also, it comes from a company like Logitech. But let me warn you, there are a lot of mice in the market that get up to 90% of this mouse's potential. Some notable entries can be this GM41 from MSI. This thing costs around like $80, but it will give you a solid experience. Another notable entry can be the Razer Viper Ultimate, which is a great mouse, to be honest, but it isn't super light like this thing. But if you're looking for a wireless, super light, minimalist gaming mouse in the market, there is no other option other than this Logitech G Pro X Superlight. It is pretty much up there. Whether it is value for money, it is a flagship product. We don't talk about value here, right? So considering all of that, I'm giving the value an 8 of 10. Could have been better. Okay, so it's finally time to look at the score, an 8.5 of 10. This mouse gets the very revered Cyber Tech Talk Platinum Award. This is the first mouse to get that award, to be honest. It deserved it. Okay, now for the bottom line, the G Pro X Superlight is a great mouse. Although it has a few down points, no one, absolutely no one will be disappointed with this thing. But if this mouse feels a bit expensive for you, go check out this N60 Lift we reviewed a while back. Also, if you like this video, the like button is for you, and also do hit subscribe as we are trying to hit 1000 before 2022 ends.